Hey, it's me, Maggie J. Today with another recap and review of the third season of Reservation Dogs. This time we'll be talking about episode 7 and 8. We're getting so close to the end, I'm a little sad when I think about it. But I'll hold off on those feelings and focus on episode 7 first. This one is called Wahoo, after a board game that kind of looks like Trouble or Sorry that was played by Rita and her friend group when they were younger. I wasn't that big a fan of the last episode that focused on the adult women friend group, but this one was absolutely awesome. It starts off with Rita at work when her boss comes over and starts giving her the old shove-off speech. There's no easy way to say this. It's been wonderful having you here. You know how they like to soften the blow right before they fire you. But Rita's actually being promoted. Some other clinics are interested in her coming to work for them, but she would have to move to either Oklahoma City or Albuquerque, which is a big decision for her. Her whole life is here in Okern, along with her baby boy, so she's got to think on it a little. Consult the council and all. Bev can't push her out of Okern hard enough, mentioning all the money she's not making here, all the dudes she can't date because they're her cousins. Bev tells her there's really nothing keeping her here, except her son, Rita reminds Bev, but she sloughs off that notion as well. Bear's grown, Bev tells her, and later on we see, he's pretty much self-sufficient, cooking dinners after working on roofs all day, paying the bills and stuff. Aw, just look at him. I get a little teary looking at how far he's come, and I'm not alone. Rita can see how well he could do on his own. That night, she gets a little spirit visit from Cookie that throws her for an absolute loop. She doesn't believe that this is happening. She tries to hide in Bear's room for a while, but the following day, it's hard to ignore that Spirit Cookie is there, talking to her, cracking jokes, and insisting Rita play Wahoo with her. Rita rushes to the clinic for some help. Outside, she's greeted by Willie Jack and Fixico. Looking a bit unsettled and wearing dark glasses, Fixico thinks she's had a long night out, and Willie Jack is so eager to suss out what kind of medicine she needs. A bag of flaming flamers is her recommendation, and Rita takes her bag and heads on inside to talk to Bev. She wants to talk to someone in psych because she's seeing Cookie, but she doesn't have an appointment, so Bev has to do a little shuffling to get her in front of someone. I love the relationship between these two long-term friends who know they can totally be themselves and reveal they're feeling a bit crazy at the same time and know they're going to get nothing but love in return. A very short meeting with Larry is kind of helpful for Rita, so she returns home and agrees to play Wahoo with Cookie. During the game, they discuss different topics. Cookie lets Rita know Bear can see spirits like she can. Sometimes it just runs in the blood. I had this feeling back in season 1, but we see so little of Rita, it took all this time to be confirmed. Cookie also tells her about Big and Bev hooking up, which is a shock, but the noise that Cookie mimics is more than enough for Rita to believe her. Cookie and Rita made a bet that if Cookie won the game, Rita would take her to where she needed to go. But after a few turns, Rita wants to quit the game and just take Cookie wherever she wants to go right now. First, they stop at Rob and Cleo's, and Rita gets 2 orders of catfish. Just like Bear does, Cleo says. Rob and Cleo can tell she's talking to someone who isn't there, and I wonder if Bear gets 2 orders, one for him and one for the spirit. Rob interrupts to ask if she's alright, and she asks him to just let this go. She is fine, having a weird day is all. Finally, Cookie asks Rita to take her to her mother's, aka Alora's house. It goes about as weirdly as you'd expect, with Rita trying to act normal while interacting with Cookie. She realizes Alora can't see or sense her mother at all. Cookie has things she wants Rita to tell Alora, but she doesn't really elaborate on what they are. Rita tells Alora she's proud of her and how she's doing, and Cookie smiles and tells her keep going. I think Cookie wants Rita to tell Alora what's in her heart, not Cookie's, because she's the one who can actually talk to her. This message might be a little bit late, though, given that Rita is likely moving out of town soon. Or maybe the message is right on time to put Rita on the right path of keeping up with her nibblings, even if she's not so close by. After talking with Alora, Cookie kind of gets after Rita for not keeping up with Alora more. She could go see her, be with her, at any time, and she just doesn't. Rita realizes Cookie has been watching her people go through all these years, not being as close as they could be, not doing the things they know they should be, because of silly excuses, or because Cookie isn't there to push them into it. Rita goes home, alone, to talk to Bear about what happened in California. We don't get to see what is said, but it must have invigorated Rita because she goes to the clinic and tells Bev they've got to give Cookie a send-off to put her spirit to rest. Bev doesn't believe Rita is seeing Cookie until Rita tells Bev about the sex noises that Big makes. I'm glad he wasn't at the clinic at that time because that would be embarrassing. So Rita, Bev, and Natalie get together and go down to this old bridge. There's one of these old bridges on my reservation. They call it Old Bridge. You get there by going down the old road, the one that's been unfit for travel for about 50 years now, but the natives still use it to get from Jimtown to Steenburg, and there's tons of hunting camps and four-wheeler trails all throughout the area. I'm glad to see another familiar feature is universal amongst these res towns, but anyway, back to the show. Rita, Bev, and Natalie get together and say a few words for Cookie, then toss her old mixtape into the river. Natalie doesn't really know how deep all this is for Rita, but she's happy to be a part of this send-off. Rita says she's going to take that job. Bear's old enough to be on his own now, and Bev promises to look after him if he sticks around. Rita tells them to look after Elora too. And that's the end of the episode. One thing I want to mention immediately after watching the credits, Devery Jacobs directed this. Congratulations to her for doing a great job with this little slice of the story. Cookie, played by Janae Collins, was also a gem in this one, playing a spirit that is wiser than the 20 years that she spent alive. I imagine it must be hard to spend so many years watching others grow older while she can only stand by and hope maybe one day she'll be able to interact with someone. And I think she played this role very well, injecting the right amount of motivation into Rita while reminding her of all she's not been able to experience without actually saying that much about it. This episode was just the right amount of funny and deep. I really enjoyed this one, and I'm glad to see so much healing going on as we get closer to the end of this series as a whole. Now, on to the next episode. I hope you're ready for a road trip and a rescue mission. So, bad news first. Old Man Fixico had a heart attack at the elders' breakfast, and everyone is worried he won't live for much longer. Given what we have learned and what the kids have learned individually from Fixico, Irene, the uncles, and Maximus, the dogs all set out on a mission to bust Maximus out of the hospital he's in and bring him home to spend time with his brother cousin before it's too late. Again, the res dogs are in need of a vehicle. One big enough to carry 8 of them this time because they've got the Indian Mafia with them. So they head over to Burglecuts and ask for yet another favor from Kenny Boy. After a big talking to, he agrees to help them out, but he has some stipulations. He wants them to call him Uncle from now on, and insists he will drive them because they need something bigger than a car this time. So he pulls up in a school bus, and the dogs, the Mafia, and Ansel are all on their way to Tulsa. On the drive, Elora and Willie Jack have a touching conversation about getting to spend time with their elders, and how now they both feel like they didn't get enough time with them, meaning Mabel and Fixico. I hope that this resonates with the young audience so they don't wind up with the same regrets a lot of older people have. I haven't gotten to see enough interactions between the dogs this season, so I was glad they got so much time together. Even the Indian Mafia was a joy to see. Everyone has changed so much over the 3 years they've been filming. It's been fun to see them all growing up. Anyway, on to the rescue mission. Cheese did his research and was able to draw up a floor plan of the hospital, but it turns out he was researching the wrong one, but they've already made it this far. The plan must go on. Bear explains they're sending White Steve and Bone Thug Dog through the front door to act like they have scheduled a tour with management as a way to gather info and distract the staff. Elora, Jackie, and Cheese are going to sneak around back and cut the phone line. Wheeze is going to keep an eye out for the cops or security and alert the group if there's any trouble, either by screaming or sending a group text. Bear and Willie Jack are going to sneak in and find Maximus's room and bust him out. Uncle Kenny and Ansel are going to wait on the bus and be the getaway drivers because they look half crazy and they'll probably try to keep them if they go inside. Before they execute the plan, they do a little Res Dogs cheer, but the Indian Mafia reminds them they're the bad guy gang. So Bear invites them to join up and they can all be Res Dogs together. And they do! Finally, after all this time. High fives all around, y'all. Okay, it's go time. Everyone does what they're supposed to, and it works out incredibly well. Mr. White and Mr. Dog wear these spiffy black suits and sweet talk their way into a tour of the facility, even with Steve's handwritten business card. Elora and them cut the phone lines at just the right moment. Nobody stops Bear or Willie Jack from going inside and finding Maximus Fixico's room. Kind of weird Willie Jack finds a file with the name Fixico on it, but doesn't think it's Fixico's cousin brother. But All right. Bear knows his first name, so they head on in and find him sitting on his bed. They tell him they're here to break him out, but he tells them he can leave anytime he wants, and he doesn't want to leave. They tell him about Fixico's failing health, but that doesn't move Maximus. He just doesn't want to go. Not until Willie Jack gets a little teary-eyed about how much she misses her cousin Daniel and would go anywhere to see him again. Suddenly, he agrees to go home and checks himself out. He even agrees to play along with the bust-out plan and heads to the bus with a jacket over his head. Everyone is so excited that their plan worked out. Throughout this episode, Big has been interrogating them all individually, trying to find out what happened to the bus. Willie Jack is the first to crack and tell him the whole story about the Elder's breakfast and busting Maximus out of the hospital. No big deal, really. But then we find out on the way home, the bus exploded! I'm sure that this episode is set up like a movie that I've not watched, so if someone could let me know what it is in the comments, that would be spectacular. Anyway, this is where Uncle Kenny stepped up and said it was all him and Ansel. The kids weren't even there. Kenny gives a wonderful speech about how the adults take care of the kids, and in turn, they take care of their elders when it really matters. And that's what it means to be a community. Aww. In the hospital, Fixico is awake enough to realize his brother cousin is there with him, and it appears to be a relief to him. During the end credits, Big shows the dogs the video he found on Facebook's about the chip truck heist, and they're back to denying everything. And that's the end of the episode. I had so much fun seeing all the kids back together again, finally working together instead of trying to be the bigger asshole towards each other. These are going to be the memories they tell their kids and grandkids about what they were doing when they were young shit asses tearing it up, and I love to see it. A lot of things came full circle in this one, from the Fixico brother-cousin feud being put to rest, the end of the Res Dogs versus Indian Mafia, to Kenny Boy proving, mostly to himself and Big, he is more than just a salvage yard owner and a meth head employer. He's Uncle Kenny. And finally, the chip truck heist has been solved, sort of. So many loose ends came together this week, and it's been really satisfying to watch. I'm so glad Maximus came home, even if only for a little bit, and was able to make up with his brother cousin before they didn't have the chance anymore. I know throughout this season they referred to him as Chaban, but when this show started, Chaban was more like a catch-all term to call young boys, and I didn't think it was as cool as Maximus, so I stuck with calling him that. So, another excellent set of episodes that I hope you enjoyed as well. It's been a super busy week for me, so this will be posted late, but I will be waiting until the last episode of the show is out to post a final recap and review. So, sorry if the 9th episode comes out before I get this one posted. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me a like or a comment if you enjoyed, but above all else, y'all stay safe out there.